Yeah, talo falava. Welcome back to another episode of Pulse of Polynesia in the hot seat, where we elevate the voices, stories, and strength of our Polynesian people across the world. We welcome all our viewers, especially the ones from the Pacific region, but also welcome those who are viewing from the United States and other parts of the world. I am your host, Chief Tasiafe Arlington, and joining me today are wonderful panel members whom I will allow to introduce themselves. So, beginning on top, Usomoni, Malolava Soifua. I don't know if Moni can hear me, or can any of my panel members hear me?
I can hear you. Yep.
You're good.
You're good.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
think
so
Moni's
we'll
connection.
go to Sis Adele.
Aloha from Hula Land. I am Adele Talayai. I've been an educator for many years, and that's pretty much about me. Thank you.
Thanks, Sis Adele. Yeah, Uso Kalani.
Talofa. Yeah, I'm Kalani Barber from the village of Tula. Actually residing here in Bedford, Texas. Good to be in this panel, and hopefully we can discuss some good topics. Taite lava.
Lava Uso. Yeah, Sis Naila.
Salfalawa, I'm Nyla. I reside here in Marina, California, in Monterey. So I'm happy to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Sis. Yeah. Okay, I lost Moni. I was going to go back to him before I went to you, Leaso. Okay, Leaso.
Talofa, everyone. All the way down from South Texas and Katy. Here from American Samoa representing. Thank you.
Okay, looks like we have Moni. Moni, can you hear us?
Talofa.
Okay.
So for manuia le pa ia man maru whaafonga anga mai. I tu whao kalopa nei. O te tautala atu mai le ele sāle nei. O lātou na mua I Malai. I'm talking from the unceded ancestral lands of the Tongva Nation Chumash tribes here in Southern California. But I'm a proud son of Tugelau and Samoa. Good to be here.
I just love how appropriate he is. He's just always the perfect. I'm calling you school teacher. Is that okay? You're my Samoan school teacher. You're just
Yes.
so.
Yes, teacher.
He's always professional. It's
Very.
beautiful. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick icebreaker and go around the room. And for those who don't know our audience, I mean, you see our faces, but then the question is, what is their personality? You gotta tell me a little bit about yourself. But rather than explain, in just simple words, we're gonna say, find a song. You're allowed to play something from your phone or your computer if you have a song that you can describe yourself. So we'll start. I'm gonna randomize this. Nyla, do you have a song play for us to describe you?
Oh wow. I'm the first. Okay, well, let me see. Can you guys hear it? I'm probably gonna have to switch up my iPod.
I cannot hear it.
We can't hear it, Nyla.
I hear some beats, but it's not coming through all the way.
Did you guys hear it?
No.
It didn't come through.
No.
But go ahead and just tell us what the song is and explain
So
why
it's
you chose that song.
Oh, huh. So the song is by Daniel Bedingfield. If you're not the one, the word says it all. Everything in and out, up and down,
Side to side.
Side to
side to
side.
side. There you go.
All right.
Maro.
Yeah, Uso Kalani, let's go with you.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys hear it. Sorry.
Is that Matalasi?
Samo Matsalasi.
Omnia.
Yeah.
Okay, he went old school on us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
That song right there reminds me so much of growing up as a kid, and it does explain a lot of our life because no matter where you go, Samoa is always matalas. It's always flourishing. It's always sunny. It's all about
Mm.
love, happiness, and that song always stuck in my head because of all the old schools, parents. I know I can relate to some of our other Polynesians and Samoans. Thank you.
There we go.
Okay.
And you're taking that to Texas. Yeah, sharing that with our Texas folks.
Keeping the sunshine going.
Okay, Sis Adele, do you have a song for us?
I do. Thank you, Kalani, because that's still not fair. I had
Sorry
a
about
song
that.
picked out, but I don't want to go and find my Samoan album. But I guess let me play one. Now, can you guys hear that?
I can hear
If
bits of
I'm
it, but I
correct, is
couldn't
it
find
Hear
Tite
that
any part of it.
Pasi?
summertime?
Yep, summertime.
Summertime.
Oh, there
Yeah,
we go.
that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And you chose "Summertime," Adele.
Yes,
Is that it?
unfortunately, it reveals my age, but yes. It's old school. Very old school.
Oh, no worries about that. I think I trump everyone over here. So, okay. Yeah. Ako fa moni.
I don't think I can play it, but it's Don't You Worry About a Thing by Bob Marley. Woke up
That
this
played in my head.
morning,
Oh, yes.
greeted by the rising sun.
There we go.
Three
Claro.
little birds outside
Oh
my doorstep, singing
yes.
sweet songs with melody
Oh my God.
pure and true. Mm-mm. This is my message to you. Singing, don't worry
Don't worry.
about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Baby, don't worry
Oh my God.
about a
Yeah, all
thing.
that's missing is this Cash App, that scrolls
Wait,
across.
yeah, but I chose that song because with all the chaos happening in the world, I truly feel that I still believe in the good of humanity, and in the end, it'll all work out, and everything will be all right. Yeah, ola
Yeah.
u
Yes.
pesenan o fitfilia awale tato ngayoinga. Paftai mo na no.
Malo.
Love it. I
Malo.
love it.
Pongponga.
And a wonderful message to open us up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sis Leaso.
Okay, since I can't sing, I'm going to try to play this music.
Don't disappoint DJ Ron with your music.
I think I am. Carry from the day of his he closed the windows on the cross. He feeds the lambs in his fall.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Do you guys know what that song is?
Consider the lilies.
Yes, yes. Consider the lilies. I like it. It's one of my favorite only because I love lilies and my favorite color is yellow, even though I don't wear it, but it to me it's happy, it's peaceful, and I always tell myself one day I'll be able to be in that peace, but for now, I have to get through the chaos first. But that's always like right there at arm's reach for me, that the peace all over the world and within myself. So
Love it, Sis
I,
Nice.
Leaso.
Great
Just
job.
perfect. I mean, everyone. So, I don't know if mine will play, but okay. So mine is not playing. But my song I chose was Lava Lava Samoa, and I was trying to play it. And the reason why that song hits home to me is I always call it my rags to riches story. Uh, Kamasuru i Samoa.
Mhm.
And I usually, when I run into folks that know me from home, it's usually the story that they share about me. Oh man, look at I remember you from back in the day. You always wore you were a fob back then. It's a comical story that's told like it's meant out of fun, but then it always hits home deep in my heart because it's true, right? It's what I wore, but it's a reflection of what my parents were able to buy for me. But then I look at where I'm at now. I'll always it's the humbleness that it reminds me of where I came from. Don't ever forget, where you started at. So I always say with pride, I'm a fob because that's my roots. So that's my story. But thanks to all of you guys for the wonderful participation there. So our viewers, that's our personality of what we bring you tonight. So we will get into our topics. So the first one right off the bat is we're looking into the topic, and we call this topic selling our seeds. And there's sort of like a twofold question that we share with you tonight. And the question is, for those who have been following, let's look at the recent proclamation to authorize the American commercial fishing in the Pacific. So let's open our discussion on your thoughts of any impact of this proclamation. So feel free as a panel to talk about the fishing, the opening of the fishing, commercial fishing in our American Samoa waters. So that's one area you can talk about. And then the other part that we've also seen is the deep sea mining. So we got two critical topics of importance that not only impact Samoa, but then most of the Pacific as well. So we will. I'm just gonna go randomly. I'll start in the middle with Kalani.
Okay. Um, you know, I remember back in the days in the 1990, 1991 during the hurricanes of Ofa and Validia, right? And that was a big tragedy at over there in the whole island of American Samoa, even Apia and some of the Polynesian islands. And I remember that we used to, my mom and my grandma used to go Waife, before the hurricane.
Mhm.
And when they go there, fresh stuff, all these resources that we get from the ocean. And after the tragic loss from the waves, search forces from this hurricane, it took a toll to where that it, it took a while to be able to see some fishes just because that there were no corals or any food for them to actually be there. And it kind of like it's sad for it was kind of hard because that was one of our resources to get food from the ocean. So of course we have to go to our land, start harvesting more bananas and stuff like that. And the two topics about fishing and also the seabed mining. My take on that is that if there's commercials fishing and a lot of these other people or other company that may fish at our shores, and also when the seabed mining happens, I think there will be a big impact to our people. Uh, I know that I'm talking with two different subjects, but if the panel don't mind or our viewers, that I will shift over to the seedbed mining, what it will
Yeah,
take effect. Um, my thing is that our uh, our people depend our marine wildlife, fishing, especially like the story that I was saying that we always grew up. Every Sunday we'll have a nice tonai with fishes and all this that we get from our ocean and also from our land as well. And with the seabed mining, that just to read about it, how much damage that it will impact I would say, ecosystem, um, that will probably be a bad thing for our island. That it'll, just like I said about the hurricane, that it will damage those corals, and those corals that we always depend to, where that a lot of fishes that we fish from are octopus and all that other resources that we actually get from the ocean. So my take on it is that I know that these big companies, that their argument is always about the global green energy and stuff like that. But my question is, is it relevant for the islands? All these islands out there. Why are we actually have to suffer from this? That with all the batteries and all these uh, things that these companies are actually focusing. And big company only focus on one thing, and I think that's money. And they can argue for the global energy transitions and all the tech supplies. So the people of Polynesia depends on our marine ecosystem. It's our culture identity, our livelihood, and our spiritual beliefs. These are top resources that we actually depend on. So not to go more into this, and I know that some of our panels may have good thoughts about it and everything, but my take is that we should look into it to where that not to sell our ocean and our sea to all these companies, and then knowing that it'll suffer our generations. They're not here yet. So that's my take on it. So high level.
Okay, Lava, Kalani. Okay, Leaso, do you want to tackle this one?
So I kind of feel like back in April 2025, when they signed the bill to change to protecting the ocean close to our Pacific island by stopping all of international coming close by to do commercial fishing there. Um, so I honestly thought that this was going to be good for our people, that we were finally going to be allowed to do our own commercial fishing out there. But after really deep diving into investigating what was really going on, we were actually just replacing international with US commercial fishing. Okay, I'm good with that. I'm okay with commercial fishing, US flags all over our Pacific island. But what I didn't understand was, okay, so we just replaced, but we're still having issues by not allowing our own people to fish outwards. We're not able to get fish coming in because they're still doing the same thing that international commercial fishing did. We just replaced it with US commercial fishing. Now, this is kind of weird and call it a conspiracy theory, but it's funny how this is coming about this year in 2025 in April, right when the sea mining is about to expire to where it's going to open up. So when you think about that, that means with US commercial fishing being around that territory, about maybe 200 square miles of ocean, that gives them the monopoly to take that portion of mining to US, but that just continues to cause so much harm to our coral, our fishing, to our livelihood. So it still feels like it's more business for money and it's not helping our people. And it's to the point where I feel like, are we for the people or are we for the money? Because it's not causing any solutions. It's just causing more problems, but just with new companies. That's just my thought on it. And I don't agree with what's currently going on, because just like what Kalani said, it's just going to cause more problems with our livelihood, especially us as Polynesian people. We depend on our sea for food. So
Okay, thanks, Leaso.
mhm.
Now, feel free to tackle the subject as your own, as you want. But if you also want to either add on or counter what was previously said, that's also open. Sis Naila.
So I think that for the sea minding, everything has been already touched base by Leaso, and Kalani. But what I would like to add in is uh, some of the potential approaches, for sustainable fishery management. So we can do the catch and release fishes. We can um, establish a marine protected areas to conserve biodiversity and fish stocks. So some of those stuffs that we are able to put in to balance the economic survival. And that's it.
And you mentioned catch and release. Okay, I just want to make sure I capture that. I'll come back to that as we allow the other panel members. Sis Adele, you want to tackle this one?
Hi, sure. I just wanted to put in context. My sister just gave me like an hour ago what the topics were for today, so I'm
Mhm.
just gonna try my best with whatever I have, because usually Google is my best friend, but right now I can't Google anything. So I'm gonna just echo what Kalani actually mentioned about seabed mining. Keeping
Mm,
in mind what's going on in Brazil, where you have the Amazon forest. You have
mm,
a lot of people actually, um, I guess, damaging the forest, trying to mine for gold, and just look at where it's at right now. It really does take a long time for an ecosystem to actually prosper. And when you actually put in whatever machinery you actually introduce into an area, you're really going to damage a lot of things that actually took thousands, if not maybe millions of years to create. Now, consider seabed mining. You have materials there that they're going to have to probably put filter through, a mesh of, and all whatever animals are actually down there will be affected by it. But just consider that technology has changed so much that we're all dependent on technology. And because of that, there that dependency on technology requires them to produce more. And the seabed mining is just to, it's almost like a supply for that demand and technology that's actually going on. It's just unfortunate, but there's so much changes going on. I don't like the idea of seabed mining. And I've read an article previously mentioning that there were two Pacific Island countries that have already signed with large corporations for seabed mining around their area. I hope, I sincerely hope that Samoa does not agree, or I hope they're not in it, or they're not signing. Obviously, I don't know about American Samoa, but any other countries near American Samoa, I sincerely hope they're not considering mining anywhere um around our oceans, because it's going to be detrimental to our culture and especially to the future of our kids. What's going to be there for them, honestly? We're damaging the ecosystem. So, yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
thanks, Sis Adele. And while we wait for Moni to come back, I just wanted to ask Nyla, can you explain the catch and release? Is that something that's done here in the States, right? You get your license, but you're authorized to go fishing, and but just release it back to wherever you're fishing at, right? Right, Nyla? Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. Thanks, Nyla. Moni. Okay. Last but not least,
Can you
let's
guys hear me
hear.
okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect.
Awesome. I,
Yes.
my grandmother, who recently passed, she was in her 80s. In the first 60 years of her life, she experienced two natural disasters. I'm a millennial, and before 30, I've already witnessed seven uh, in my very young, short life. So we see this more constant exposure to natural disasters, rising sea levels, fluctuating weather patterns. The reason why I'm bringing this up in response to the question and the prompt is because we are already battling protecting what we have, our home, uh, our eroding of the land, and protecting the only home we have left. Now, on top of that, now we want to do deep sea drilling. Uh, I feel like we are now making a choice between economic development and financial revenue versus the health and security of our homes and our oceans. I'm reminded of what Benjamin Franklin said. He said, if you give up freedom for security, you will end up losing both. And I feel like the same
Mm.
applies here. If you give up the safety and the health of your lands and your oceans for financial gain, you will also end up losing both. And it's not just us, we see this happening all over the world, whether it's their natural resources or ours. And so it's
Mm.
really, really important that we protect the only home that we have. Uh, Now, when we saw the protection of the 500,000 nautical miles from our shores for local fisheries and for our own people, that was beautiful. Why? Because there's a relationship between us and nature. E le va a tato whaasinomanga, ma le tato si'o-si'omanga. There's a relationship between our cultural identity and our environment. The principle of reciprocity, this reciprocal relationship in harmony. In other words, we take care of the environment and the environment will take care of us. We were taught this from our ancestors. We were taught this from our parents. O tato tua'a ma o tō mātua. Um, and I truly feel there's also a Samoan saying, Fili fili le tai se angava'a, which basically means let the ocean choose its master. And it already
Mm.
did. It chose us. Tato tangata Pacifica. We are stewards of the largest continent in the planet, and that is the Blue Pacific. And as stewards, no one knows the ocean more than us. We know it more than anyone else. And so, whatever big corporations like uh, Impossible Metals, who is applying to deep sea drill near American Samoa, or whether whatever entities of government who's trying to take our resources, whether it is below the sea, above it, on the land, or in the air, it belongs to our people, and it should remain that way. And so, in other words, stay the hell out of our waters. Tulo lava umutu maleafi.
Yeah,
But it is
fine.
the truth. Stay out of our waters. It belongs to our people. Now, the move that the current administration did by decreasing the 500,000 nautical miles to just within 50 miles, that's a disservice to our people because our people rely on the ocean in Moana for our subsistence, and it is detrimental to the survival of our cultural identity. Pena ufayatu, ile va leo tato faasinomanga, ma le tato si'o-si'omanga, e o faatasi me lua. And the two must go together in order for us to survive, especially in this global economy. Now, I think the two subjects are related to each other, whether it is deep sea drilling or whether it is fisheries, because they both have to deal with our marine life. And
Mm-hmm.
already we are struggling with surviving with our marine life, whether it's the least emission of carbon into the atmosphere. We are the most impact when it comes to rising sea levels and fluctuating weather patterns. We're already dealing with what's above water. Don't add to our distress with what's going to happen below the water. Uh, and so Again, Impossible Metals wants to take these nutrients from our deep sea seabeds for what? For their gain. And their justification is, oh, we're going to make sure that we create jobs. Look, let's not sell out our waters for 30 pieces of silver. Just because you hang trinkets in front of our face to persuade us and make us feel like, oh, we're going to gain in the end, that's non-negotiable. And the reason why it's non negotiable, because water is life, and we are life. And as stewards of Pacifica, we must protect the only home we have left. Samoa, Tonga, Kiribati, Nauru, Hawaii, uh, Marshallese, Northern Marianas, whether you're Micronesian, Melanesian, or Polynesian, we have to stick together. Now, have we made steps to try and build a coalition? Yes, we have. You have the Pacific Island Forum, which is a coalition of 18 countries, island nations, who try to rally together as leverage in conjunction with the global economy. You also have like people like the Pacific climate warriors, like Brianna Fruin and her brothers and sisters, with their move to try and protect our land, ocean, and our skies. Like I said before in our previous session, that Samoan saying, "Alongo itai, elongo iuta." If the sea feels it, the land will too. And like Brother Kalani said, because of the hurricane, they had to move from their subsistence from the ocean and go to agriculture on the land. And that's exactly what's going to happen in an island-wide scale and throughout the Pacifica. And so my stance on the matter, reinstate the 500,000 nautical miles to protect marine life and our fisheries for our local people, to preserve our identity and cultural practices, and also tell Impossible Metals to don't drill any seed. Leave the nutrients where it belongs. Yeah, so manatu vai vailin na tu sa fo iman ni mata upu. Pastai mo na vanoa.
Thank you, Brother Moni. And I love it that you brought out the importance. The message is for not only Samoa, yeah, we're sending a message to Samoa, but also, don't feel that you are not going to feel the impact of these drillings, because these minerals are so valuable, especially for all the technical advances. They're relying on these resources, but as the panel's already mentioned, at what cost? But to try to wrap up what all you guys have said and try to summarize it, I hear the voices and the cries that says, stand up for what we believe in, and that's a resource that we're not willing to give up, because we're thinking of the future generations, not just 1, 2, but we're talking about many generations to come of all of the Pacific. But I also want to touch on the subject of what happens then. What's the next move? We know that eventually, if you're really firm in believing what you have right now, we're going to touch about the subject about protesting. So protesting will definitely be something involved as we go forward. And so I want to bring up, like, any Hunkin also took a stand in the past. So that was one movement that he was detained for standing his ground. But then I also want to bring up, a fictional movie that everyone's seen, Avatar. But Avatar, if you watch that movie and pay attention to what happened in that movie, is no different than what's going to happen in the Pacific. You have one of the most richest minerals that every superpower in the world wants at this time, and they will be on your doorstep. So the question is, what do you do? Be like the folks in Avatar who stood their ground to protect that at all costs, and losing all the people. So didn't want to get too far off subject, but I just wanted to bring those two interesting things to light. And thanks to Brother Moni for also mentioning all the coalitions, and there's a lot of work that's going on behind the scenes. So before we go into our next topic, I know we got
If I may, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I may, I being from back home, I feel like even from a local level in Samoa and in the Pacific, we need to invest and spread awareness and encourage our brothers and sisters, our kids, to get into majors like conservation. The last ASCC report for the graduating class that came out, the majority of the graduating class majored in liberal arts. Basically, that's just general studies. You know how many people graduated in natural resource and preservation? 3% of the graduating class. And so I feel like we're catering our education for job opportunities off island. We, the people back home, need to also encourage our future generations to look at jobs that can create revenue just by preserving what we already have, preserving our natural resources at home. I just wanted to add, the little things that we can do also back home.
Yeah, and for those who are viewing, please take all the advice that Brother Moni is bringing up, some valuable information. Someone that actually is still on island, so he's not like an outsider, just offering input. All right, so we're going to segue into our next topic, but I want to first highlight some of the comments that are popping up from offline or online. Okay, let's see. What do we have? All right. Honolulu Girl. American Samoa is a territory of the U.S. What legal or diplomatic tools do Pacific nations have to protect their waters? Can you throw that up again so I can finish the second half? And are they being respected by global powers? Okay. Did everyone get a chance to see that? Anyone want to tackle this question?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. American Samoa is a territory of the U.S., so what legal or diplomatic tools do Pacific nations have to protect their waters? And are they being respected by the global powers?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Man, I feel like I was in a pageant. Please repeat the question, please. Thank you for the question. So yes, American Samoa is a territory of the United States. However, because of the defeat of the Organic Act 4500 that was defeated in Congress, our official name is the unincorporated, unorganized territory of American Samoa. Because we're unorganized and unincorporated, that means the Constitution is only partially applied, meaning, although we're under the jurisdiction of the Department of Interior, our local government and our local voted legislature, the Fono, and our executive branch can also put sanctions, as we have. Governor Lemanu solidified the 500,000 nautical miles after the executive order President Obama. The current administration changed that to 50 miles. But we,
Man,
the people, as a local
he was getting deep in that
can
answer,
stop
and I
it.
wish I could
Which is
answer the way
why
Moni was answering.
I wish that our
We'll give him a
governor
second to come back
would be
on.
more.
Okay. We have another comment.
All right. So Janice says, thank you for making us aware of what's going on in our island. We definitely need to protect our home. Okay. Amen to that. So as we're awaiting Brother Moni, talk about someone that knows the subject and
Yeah.
So
reference.
while we're waiting on him, I do know that. Oh, he's coming back. I'd rather have him explain more better than me.
Yeah, go ahead, Brother Moni.
Yeah, you know what? I think the minute I mentioned, certain agencies will kapela o live. Uh, but in a small summary of what I was trying to say, yes, even though we are a U.S. territory, we still have our own rights. And even though we're within the jurisdiction of the Department of Interior, our FONO and our leaders can sanction and can protect our seas. I mentioned the Pacific Island Forum of the 18 countries. Unfortunately, American Samoa is not one of them.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be, we were trying to be, but we had a lot of pushback from the Department of Interior. I'm hoping I don't see that happening anytime soon, but it would be nice to join our brothers and sisters in Pacifica. But going back to the premise of the question, just because we're a territory does not mean we do not have rights. We do have the rights to govern ourselves. As promised under the Constitution of the United States, we also have our own Constitution as well. And I feel like Annie Hunkin said this when he came and visited my U.S. government class back at ASCC. He said we have treaties with the United States and they need to honor it. And I echo the same thing.
No, wonderfully explained, Brother Moni. I don't think I could have explained it any better and in depth the way you had. Also, did you want to also add on to that, or are you okay with Moni?
Moni's covered it well.
Okay.
Thank you, Moni.
Thank you, Moni.
All right, I'm gonna go back to the question. It does matter. Okay, let's see. Throw that back up again. It doesn't matter what we say. It doesn't matter what we want. But until the Department of Interior stops having the last word, our sovereignty is still just a suggestion and not a reality. Okay.
I respect that.
Yeah. Thanks, Honolulu girl. Okay. Panel, you guys feel good, or do you still want to cover the subject?
No, I think Moni had covered every basics and
Yeah.
everything that, Thank you, Moni. Malo
Yeah,
Paso.
thank
Everything.
you, Bonnie.
Malafaso
Thank
Yeah,
money.
you.
I
But
just
I
wanted to
also
Anything
feel
say,
else
like
for our
yeah,
viewers?
go ahead.
Go ahead, Lasso.
I also feel like we should come back to this topic later, just to follow up on, the current issue that's going on right now.
Yeah.
I agree.
You mean later, as in a follow-on panel, or later on in the
Hmm.
this podcast, or later?
I agree. At this very moment, it's pending this request
Yeah.
for the sea drilling, and if it is
Yes.
approved, then the next step would be public hearings, meaning the public gets to weigh in and give their opinions, and then of course, research and development would follow that, and then of course the end result would actually be the drilling. So it's an ongoing process, and I agree with Lasso. I hope we revisit this again, and we should monitor it and
Mhm.
monitor it closely.
Okay.
We could also pay attention to which islands have played a part in sponsoring these companies that are still currently on the ocean right now, waiting for the mining to be open for them to drill. So that's something to look out for.
All right. Appreciate that, Moni, Lasso, and our panel for the in-depth discussion, and also for our viewers for chiming in as well. It's a lot of concern, not only to us in Samoa, but Pacific wide. So we promise we will do a follow-up as things change, and it's a topic that will be continued. Maybe several panels from now. So I'm glad we are having that as a topic of discussion. So we will shift to our next interesting topic, and this one deals with our fast food crisis. It's what we term the fast food crisis. Pacific Islanders now face some of the highest rates of diabetes and heart disease in the world. The rise of fast food culture has deeply affected and our traditional ways of eating and living, threatening not just our health but our heritage. So, question is to the panel and for our viewers: how do we reclaim our health without losing our culture or our convenience? Okay, Brother Kalani, we'll go back to you.
yes, sir. Thank you. I think the question that you just asked, I think the way that we can go back to our old lifestyle is we have a land that we work on. You know, that's a blessing of us in everywhere in the Polynesian. Uh, the tradition and the culture and the food that we harvest from our own hands is actually based to where that we are working out and actually working for our food in the land or out in the ocean or everywhere that we can get from our resources that are very natural to our consuming. And I think that that's why our whole Polynesia, that's why the people of Polynesia are built different. Not only that, they're always out there working, climbing the coconut to get the coconut, going out there to, you know, clean up all the weeds and everything from the bananas, that way that it doesn't, or the breadfruit and the pineapples and all the other resources that we always get. These are stuff that a lot of people that consider organic here in the States that they hope they can get it, but they're paying a price out of it. But yet we have that back home. But sadly, that I witness out of firsthand that people are now moving away from that to a more convenient way of getting food resources, which is fast food. And I guess that's why it's called a fast food, that it's a lot faster. It takes about 2 minutes to drive from here to McDonald's and get to McDonald's instead of taking about a week or maybe 2 weeks or maybe even a month to try to get a banana grow so that way we can harvest that crop for our, for our benefit. And I guess the nutrients between the two is that now we already know that there's a lot of chemicals in all these fast food, and it does affect our medical health issue. And I think that fast food is something that it's not only in the Polynesia Islands, but it's everywhere that is so more convenient. Now I see that who would want to go out there and break a sweat to go clean all this whole land and trying to get banana trees grow and everything when you can just drive over to the fast food within only a minute of a drive to get a nice double burger or anything, you know, that can fulfill your needs as far as, getting full for it. But my thing is that uh, with the health issues, I guess that because of us Polynesian people, we like to have gatherings together. And when we have gatherings, there's a lot of food that are involved. And that's a whole lot of love. And that's how we express our own is, you know, to our families and to our friends and everybody. And it because of that mentality that we have, that we were raised, we come up here and we do the same thing. But yet it's not the food that we were raised from back home. We're talking about all these other food that has, burgers, pizzas, all this other stuff that you can actually partake during birthday parties and all that kind of stuff, not knowing that it does affect. Um, but my question is, uh, despite how we consume in portions nowadays, is it a coping mechanism for people to consume a lot so that way they can, not out of hunger, but some people will just sit at the computer and probably have something just to eat. Uh, that probably can contribute to something that maybe it's a medical issue or I don't know, but it does affect and put a lot of stress, I guess, when it comes to. But not to go too broad about this subject, but I think that go back to our people in Polynesia. I think that's the way that our ancestors were brought up, and that's why they were so fit and look so good. It's because they work hard for their food, not only in the land but out in the ocean. So that's my take on this. Thank you.
All good points there, Brother Kalani. Sis Naila, yeah, over to you.
So I'm just gonna be very honest when it comes to this fast food places. We've gotten very lazy. And I'm not gonna lie because I do the same thing too, because it's convenient, just like what Kalani said. It's so convenient that when we're rushing home from work or we think that it's just an easy way out just to please our kids or us because it's there. So we go in and we drive into McDonald's and we buy them. But again, I'm speaking from being here in the mainland, not in Samoa, because in Samoa you get to have lots of things that you're able to do. Just like what Kalani said, we exercise through cutting our bushes and mua levao, san levao, ile mungala. But here in America alone, it's even harder. But then there are solutions. Maybe they can start doing those, get back to finding those good healthy cooking classes, or go back to the old ways of cooking from your own house as well in providing those healthy meals for our kids. Yeah, we just got lazy. I know I'm gonna say it straight out of the back that I got lazy. I get lazy sometimes too, and I'll do the same thing. But it's not healthy. Yes, it's not healthy. It's not healthy, if we really look at the nutrition value of those food, and then it does bring so much diseases afterwards. So I think not, but
Thank you, Sis Naila. Sis Adele, you want to tackle this one?
Sure, I'll try. I guess it varies, yeah, whether it's on in the islands or if it's off island. I remember in the 90s when we didn't have McDonald's, and if we had any family members that came over, we'd ask, "Hey, I alu McDonald's, alu whaka so Big Mac from mole mo fries e lua."
Mm.
It's always like I'm along on my say she my America guarantee mo wale McDonald's. But now it's like just like what Sis Nyla was saying, really it's convenience now. It's there now. Um The price is there, it's cheap, but the value, I don't know. We have to, kind of consider that even people back home in Samoa, American Samoa, there's a lot of people that are renting, so they don't have access to land where they can actually
Mm,
grow food, and so they have to pick and choose where they're going to be buying their produce, or perhaps McDonald's might be cheaper than buying, produce. I don't know, it depends. But yeah, I mean, just echoing what Sis Nyla was saying, just really just being active, choosing exactly what we should be eating, being smart about it. It's kind of heartbreaking just to see Pacific Islanders walking around with these bandaged legs, and you could automatically tell, okay, obviously that person might actually have diabetes. And it's hard to see when you go home that a lot of them are actually young. It's they're getting younger. Like I remember in the 90s, I growing up in American Samoa, it's just you never really saw anybody, their legs bandaged.
mm,
People were just active and walking around. Never once did you ever see that many people on wheelchairs that were young. Nowadays, you pretty much see 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds on wheelchairs. I mean, it's concerning. I don't know unless it hits hard people. It's gonna continue. Um, but it is something that there has to be dialogue on. Just reminding people about living an active lifestyle and by being smart with our choices of food preparation. Yeah, that's all.
thanks, Sis Adele. So before we go to Brother Moni, I think I see some comments. I just want to bring in some of the comments, just to expand what the audience is thinking and what they're asking. Okay, so a lot of these fast foods are just processed and are also causing people to develop diabetes, hypertension, and chronic illnesses. Okay, and we know obesity is a major issue in Polynesian communities, but many of our people are eating to survive emotional pain, especially from abuse. Okay, so um, what do we have here? What trauma-informed, culturally grounded solutions do you recommend for healing both the body and heart? So uh, now we have several more questions, you know, to look at. Um, we, the Kanaka Maoli Molokai, have no big city life things here like fast food restaurants, shopping malls, or other things like that. We don't even have traffic lights on Molokai. So Sean is sharing, and one of my favorite drinks from Samoa is Vailima. Okay, so we can go around again if anyone wants to tackle, but I'll turn it to Moni. You can feel free to incorporate any of those questions that are arising, or just go with the original ones.
Those are valid questions, and those are also valid comments. Uh, and I think we all can resonate with those questions and those comments. Before I share what I have to say, let me just full disclosure: I am a product of McDonald's, Burger King, and Jack in the Box,
Hey,
and
we all
so
are.
when I'm talking about these things, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to us, to all of us. With that
Amen.
said, um, I, this whole dependence of convenience, and that's the word. It's convenience, and convenient really morphed into us being lazy, and that was said on the panel earlier, and I totally agree. And I feel like, when we look at going back to the land, uh, going back to our culture, tato whaasinomanga ma tato siʻosiʻomanga. And again, here's another way of how our cultural identity is impacted by the lack of utilizing our environment. Uh, and so going back home and you think, going back in history, everything was agriculture. Everything was agriculture, everything was ocean, everything was environment. Uh, it was not until the mid 19th century, 20th century, not until like the World War II era, because of the military coming into our society, you saw the call for a lot of people who were subsistence on agriculture now leaving the plantation fields to now work in the suburbs area of town because of our development and urban development, the age of industry. And so you saw a decline in our agriculture. Therefore, you also saw a decline in our healthy food intake. And because of this, we went through a shortage in the mid 1940s, 1950s of food. And the answer to that was, well, let's bring food from outside. Let's bring processed foods, which made it so much easier for us to consume than working in the hot sun and the pouring rain for months, to bring taro and tamu and whatnot on our tables. And so that really convenience really brought down the downfall and the down trend of our agriculture input. But then we discovered as we became more developed the power of trade. And when we decided, hey, we can trade our imports and our crops, we were yielding. And because of our ports and we were trading with our brothers and sisters, our economy was booming. So much that in 1963, President Lyndon B. Johnson, and yes, the hospital was named after him, came to American Samoa to say thank you because we were the first territory to willingly pay federal taxes. Because we had money. We were trading. Sadly, just 20 years later, we became a Medicaid state. Now, what does that mean? That means 100% of our population is below the poverty level. Therefore, we saw the big handouts and the convenience of food stamps. The problem with food stamps is that you can only use food stamps for food that is provided to you. And that was a lot of processed foods. You couldn't use food stamps for kalo. You couldn't use food stamps for taro, banana, papaya, fruits, or anything from the land. You can only use food stamps for processed foods that were being imported into our territory. And that's where you saw the downfall of a lot of our people's health conditions. And so that's addressing one of the comments that I heard. Another, I think one of the questions was, well, what can we do to address it? Am I correct or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what
Okay.
solutions do we?
Well,
Yeah.
the same thing I said from the last topic. Let's invest more in agriculture. One of the reasons why we became a Medicaid state was because within those 20 years, since Lyndon B. Johnson to 1980, the United States government did something that was really detrimental to our economy. They took away our ports and our freedom to trade. And because we couldn't trade our exports of crops, there was no reason to crop anymore. And then we saw the rise of the convenience of processed foods and the convenience of going away from agriculture, which was one of the backbones of our economy, to now getting factory jobs and warehouse jobs and jobs in the city. And so we saw a repeat of moving away from agriculture and going for more convenient jobs in the suburbs and in urban communities in the town areas of American Samoa. And so my answer to that question is let's invest in agriculture. Let's bring back the backbone of our economy. American Samoa, 99% of the entire islands are owned by families. Let us, as families and people, and as Malo, invest in our own lands and create revenue and our own wealth. And tell the powers that be to give us our ports back so we can trade with our brothers and sisters again and bring economic development and have a booming economy. Going back to policy. It's really sad because at this current rate, we are unhealthy. The University of Yale School of Health said 94% of the population of American Samoa, their study showed that 94% was obese and overweight, myself included. And it's not just American Samoa. That attitude and that practice, it carried across the ocean to the diaspora of the United States, to New Zealand, and to Australia. Our people are more convenient for processed foods and fast food restaurants. In California alone, the Office of Minority Health, in partnership with EPIC, which is empowering Pacific Islander communities, heart failure in the Samoan community in California alone is 38%. The national average is 18. That is double the national average.
Mm.
And so that's dangerous, but that is the reality in which we are in at the moment. So going back to investing in agriculture and making it more affordable, one, and more accessible, two, because at the moment it's more convenient to go to McDonald's at 2 o'clock in the morning than to go to your maumanga iuka to ka may fa'i makalo. So how can we make our agriculture more accessible? By investing less in other things that do not matter and more into our agriculture sector. Bring back our fa'i and our kalo back to our tables again and make people proud to be a farmer because that's where we all came from. Also, manatu din na.
And thank you for sharing that.
Here.
Before we go back to Lasso, can you bring up that there was a comment about corned beef? Okay, so I wanted to say something about this because you mentioned something, Moni. One of the foods that is a big influence of unhealthy, but us Polynesians love is corned beef, spam, and lots of pork. But when you were mentioning about the military and our dependency on these canned foods, you know the trivia thought in my head was the word bisupo. I think you guys are familiar with it.
Mhm.
It's not a Samoan word, right? It was a word derived from these cans, pea cans, right? Cans of peas. So the Samoans associated, with apapi, pea supo, So just kind of a trivia, but it's interesting how the pea supo is one of the staples that continues to we love it. We love the damn thing. But we did have a how would you describe her, Lasso? Dr. Tui. I wanted to make sure that our audience understands that we did have a specialist, someone that's in this professional field that deals
Mhm.
with this specific topic on a daily. Just share, Lasso, before you give your intake, what Dr. Tui was supposed to bring on this topic.
So Dr. Tui is a physician and she specializes in weight loss and a lot of other different things. So look her up. I'll put her information out there, but she had a family illness going on, and so family obligations she had to attend to last minute. But most definitely she'll be at the next panel. But she was one to bring that expertise to the table in regards to health wise.
Yeah, and the reason why I bring her up is because every time we talk about these sensitive topics, the next follow-on question is, well, who has the professional background to, to talk about um, these issues? So to calm the fears or all the anyone that's going to view this later, yes, we understood the importance of this topic. It does hit us, dear to heart, and that's why we brought someone who takes this very seriously. And unfortunately, she couldn't be with us today. So, Lasso, did you want to add on to this topic, or?
Yeah, real quick. So growing up, and my sister, my family knows this about me. I like to run, and so I would run from Malailoa all the way down to all the way like all the way to where the airport is. Go to Lions Park, all the way back up to Malaimi, Pavaiai, and back to Malailoa. So that was
God,
my
that's a lot of running.
usual trail of running, and I would eat like it's nothing, but when I eat, it was mostly like banana taro. Because I would cook. I don't cook indoor. My sister them does all that stuff. I would be outside following the popo, cooking, doing the saka and everything. And so we ate a lot of food from our plantation. It was when McDonald's just came about after I graduated from high school and I started to eat McDonald's. That's when I noticed as much as I was maintaining my weight, I just couldn't lose that extra 5 pounds. And that started when I ate fast food, and it was so weird. And so I took that feeling and because I always make sure to, I was I try to keep, healthy and I had a weight scale and everything. So when I had my own kids, I made sure to put my kids in sports, you know, um, when it came down to fast food, we always made sure that we had food at home where it's not cooked food, but it's like, it's you take a apple, orange, or whatever, that's your snack. You've already eaten, whatever earlier before that, but it's healthy food. And but as they got older, they're now eating junk food. I can't control them. They're eating McDonald's, they're eating Burger King, they're doing whatever, but that's something that they'll have to learn on their own. But I just wanted to bring that out there as no matter what I did with working out, I couldn't lose that extra weight until I stopped eating fast food completely. That's when my body started to pick up on the weight loss. And not to say that I haven't eaten McDonald's in maybe 2 years, I think, or yeah. But I have noticed changes in my skin and my health. And when I walk, it doesn't hurt to walk. Just like I used to be like that, where I get up when I wake up in the morning and start to get off my bed, it hurts to step on my feet. And so I noticed after making those small changes, it helped me health wise, and it helped save money from going to the doctor a lot. And so, what do we do to save money instead of going to the fast food? We buy chunks of food that'll last us. That's easy to cook, easy to get by. Being a mother of six, you have to improvise, and you really have to budget. But that's just my take on the fast food part with my experience.
No, panel, thanks again, and thanks to our audience for chiming in on the subject. Very important. You know, I know it's important to the Pacific Islands, but this one, I think it's unique to Samoa because we've seen the numbers, we've seen the data. The numbers for us Samoan people are definitely, it's shocking compared to the other Pacific Islands, and we can't really say, yeah, because we're unique. I mean, we're gonna take ownership of this one, of our Samoan people. But what I want to emphasize, we talked about exercise and getting out, Lungalui, but then I also want to make sure that we tell folks we're not telling you to get up tomorrow and guilt trip you into running, 10 miles. Do it, you know, be smart about it. And I'll just give you an example of something that happened to me at my age. I'm used to mowing the lawn and doing things like that. So in Oklahoma, it's like was like 94 degrees. I think it was Wednesday, but I needed to mow the lawn, so I went and mowed the lawn. Mowed it, and didn't think anything of it. And later that night, I had chills, I had headaches, but it's one of those things. I felt like I had to exercise, because your body needs it, but at the same time, I wasn't being smart about it. And I got out there, and I got pretty much sick. I was facing I was like a heat injury, as the military would say, like someone that's suffering from like a heat casualty. So hydrate yourself, but be safe. If you're one that has health conditions, please go see a doctor before jumping into any exercise regimen, especially if you're not the type of person that does that. So that's all I wanted to add to this subject. But we probably will continue this when Dr. Tui joins us. Panel, you guys good with this, or you guys want to continue?
I think we have two questions.
Okay, let's see those.
Okay. All right.
So how does affordable look like if there are a lot of poor people who don't have the means to grow the agriculture? What then? Who do they borrow from if families who work at minimum wage jobs? Good question.
Mhm. The last one.
There are a lot of people who rent on lands that don't belong to them. Who do they go to if lands don't belong to them? Okay, panel, anyone want to tackle those?
I think that's a good question, but I think that the people that are actually renting there, I'm pretty sure that whoever the owner is wouldn't mind to have these people to work on the land so they can get some resources like that. That's my take upon it. I think that our culture everywhere in the Polynesian, we're not like, no, you're just gonna sit here and not do anything. We're not gonna give you more than that. No, I'm pretty sure that just showing out of love, that's how we are. If you ask something, you shall receive. And I'm pretty sure that that's one of the good things of our culture and tradition everywhere in the Polynesian, wherever Micronesian, Melanesian, Hawaii, no matter what. When you ask for something, they will give it to you. And I'm pretty sure that um, that there's sometimes that lima vai vai and I'm pretty sure that there's always ways that you can But if the question is refer up here in the states that people are living can't afford some of these, I'm pretty sure that there are programs out there that can help. The food stamps and stuff like that, and then that you can utilize that too. And it might take up on this. Just wanted to tackle or add about it is our people is the portion consumption is one of the things that it's uncontrollable, and I think that's one of the things that does contribute to our
Mhm.
health issue. So it's okay if you go McDonald, like Brother Moni, as a McDonald product, you look good, my brother, very well, but I'm pretty sure that you're taking good care of yourself. But I myself as well is guilty as far as fast food as well. So I think it's just that our culture is very, very known of when we have gatherings. It don't matter if it's only three or four. We will treat that three or four people like it's a whole village when we present food on the table. So it's not that because that we are out of control, but it's part of our tradition because every Sundays when we have our tonai, that is something that I always look forward to because during all the day throughout the week, just for like Bukaki or Elengi, something like that, just as much. And then you always look forward to the tonai on Sunday because that will be a big feast, you know. But anyway, not to go too further on it, but I'm pretty sure that our panel had touched a lot of good base, on the subject. So yeah, my thing is that the portion consumption, I think, is something that we have to control. We can still eat what we want to eat, I think, but as far as controlling it, maybe you just kind of like eat a little bit of portion or something. But there's a saying that I think Brother Tossi knows is that most people eat until they're full, but us Polynesians we eat until we're tired, and then we go sleep, and then you wake up the next time you're like feel sluggish. So other than that, that's my take upon it. Thank you.
No, I thought it was it's interesting that you bring that up, and I like that you're bringing it up. Is also it's the portions you eat, and what we call our normal setting of a meal size. So that's a big part as well. But I just thought it's something crazy just came in my head as sarcasm. The way you phrased that, it sounded like you were saying you make you wear that McDonald good. You make McDonald look good. So sorry,
Nothing personal. No,
in
it's
my head,
just sorry.
Chief Tassi, you wear that McDonald good. I'm a proud product of McDonald's, so hope this McDonald looks good on that end. So.
In Texas, we're a proud Whataburger. That's the product that we have.
Yes. Yes. Waterburger. Yes. Way
Yeah.
better.
Okay, so I think we have probably less than 20 minutes. So I'm trying to decide. I'll ask you guys the panel because there's two interesting topics here. Do you guys want to do the paycheck topic, or do you guys want to go about the history topic? What do you think is the best one to cover in less than 20 minutes?
I think our history will
Juliano,
be
Tunga.
good enough.
Okay. So let me see. All right. Let's just go to paycheck. Okay. So life in America was supposed to be the dream, but for many Polynesians in the diaspora, the reality is a cycle of financial pressure, remittance, obligations, and survival mode budgeting, often with no room to breathe or building wealth. So the question for the panel is, are we truly thriving abroad, or are we drowning in invisible debt and cultural guilt? So, Sis Naila, we'll start with you.
Oh, so for many of us Polynesians that are living here in America, the reality of financial struggles and cultural applications can be very overwhelming. I'm not going to lie. Um, the pressure to send money back home or participate in cultural palavelaves and stuff like that, and maintain a sense of a community can be significant. So here is my simple thought to that question alone. Because I know that us in Samoans, we have too much pride and ego. We always want to give. I my full and quite I pocket. And us living here in America is very
Mm.
hard versus those that are living back home, because this is why we pay more here, and everything here in America is money. Like I always say to a lot of everybody over there back home, yes, some of them it's money, but majority of the things is off of our land. Kako siya mga, mo kako fale, mo fangua, mo fale. And we are not living back home. You're not living like how us here in America is living. So here is my quick thought for that question within your means. Ali lava faso, wale lava alim fanga help out this part of love. I'm so sorry. But then again, we don't wanna, some of us, we don't want our families back home to say "Fape wa ele mafaya." Because I
Mm-hmm.
know that we all grew up in that sense that we have so much pride that we always want to be helpful. Next week, that paycheck is going to come go towards the rent, but then yet we still try to do it because of so much pride that we have, that we don't want to say no. But then there comes that moment in time that we all have to say, hey, no can do. Uh, no matter how it is or how they take it, it is what it is. So that's just my thought for that.
Yeah, I love how you tie it all together, but I'm gonna go to Sis Adele.
Life in America. Well, I mean, it's a good topic. I don't know. It also depends. Like what do we consider like as being successful? Like having a lot of money, having a home. Um, like I know in America we have money where disposable income where you can actually, you know, pay and buy a lot of things. Kind of it puts the guilt on us here in the States, our families back home if they're struggling, we know we have to provide. And I always grew up knowing that I was still going to support my parents regardless. But it really depends, you know. Sa for years, you sort of naila, thank God for ya de lava scoop if I saw ya. Thank God for ya, going the rent, ile masingo man masingo ya. But thank God for ya lang aki nga for loko if I long ako laki nga inga may mako may usa mo ya.
Mm-hmm.
No, it varies, honestly. It's hard because we're still connected to home. Regardless of the struggles we have, we still feel like we're obligated to provide. Like for me, I will still provide regardless. If I can't, I'll just say, hey, just for now, just give me a rain check. I know next time I'll support, but it really it's dependent on the person, you know. Kind of have to really consider whether you're able or not, with a kind heart, not in a sense of being aigu and all, like, oh no, I'm saving my money so I can go out. No, that's being really selfish. But it really depends on the person. That's my input.
Thanks, Sis Adele. So it kind of echoes, partially what Nyla said. This one I actually want to go to Moni because Moni is like a tweener, right? It's not like most of us who are actually most of our lives are here in the States. So Moni is partial here, partial there. So no mai Moni.
Yeah, for time mo lang pa noa. O te roa i le tūlanga o le malanga ina i whafo. E sa ili ai se manuia. Se luma nai manuia. Ai, e tauna tato malama lama, e ese e toinga manuia. E pule ata ngata lava ia o le ale fo linga i le nā manuianga. Le winga na utana. We all come. What does success look like? Is it education? Is that why you leave home to get educated, or is it income and you get a successful career and you get all this money, or is it doing the most good in the environment that you are in, and giving back to your own community wherever you are? There are different types of fa'amonianga. On my mother's side, my grandmother hails from the village of Pavaiai. She's one of the smartest and the most wise people I know. And in her young life, when she saved up enough money, she took a boat and went to Hawaii. And there she worked on the plantation field for the pineapple company. And as a farmer, she rolled up her sleeves 18 hours a day, working in the hot sun and sleeping in the closet with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other farmers. And she did that day in and day out until she saved enough money to bring her sisters to Hawaii. And there, they were selling puka shell necklaces at the wharf. They were trying to look for jobs to, whether it was cleaning, cooking, house making, whatever, ironing clothes, whatever jobs they could find to make ends meet, until they finally were able to come to the States. Now, I'm a product of a farmer woman.
It's always when he's deep in his thoughts.
Yeah.
He's
Am
gonna come back.
am
He's
I
gonna pick
out?
up.
Am I
Oh, there
am
you
I
go.
out?
There you go. No,
You're
no,
good now.
you're back.
Mary.
I'm a product of a farmer woman who left the paradise of home. There's a saying, o le va'a I le wafu e saunga le mu, a ele o le mafu anga le nana fausia I le va'a. Afa Britannia, the boat in the harbor is safe, but that is not why the boat was built. It wasn't built to stay in the safety of the harbor. It was built to leave the harbor and to go out into the ocean and explore the deep and unknown, to go to the storms and embrace the rain and embrace the high waves, to embrace the unknown world out there. And so Grandma left the paradise of her harbor, the safety of her harbor, because she felt that there was something better for her posterity. I'm a product of a farmer woman. Because of her, I was able to live the American dream. Now, when Grandma came to America, she didn't go straight to the Hamptons. She went to the ghettos of LA. And there, the ghetto and what it offered her was what she can make of it. And she did her best to raise her children. Years later, my parents and myself came to America only to visit and see Mickey Mouse. And the night before we were supposed to return home, Dad was shot in a drive-by shooting. Until this day, he is wheelchair bound. So that changed the course of our lives forever. Now I'm grateful that it was decided that I would be raised by my grandparents back home in Samoa, but my mother said, bring my son here every other year. Year there, year here, year there, year here. And that was my whole life growing up. And it was because my mother felt that, one, I get to be close to my family, and two, because education and the opportunities were better here. So fast forward, I'm in my first class in America, and I see this whole map in our textbooks, and none of it has Samoa in it. And I realized at a young age, that the whole country was going to school learning about a world where people like you and me did not exist. We weren't in our history books, and we were not in our geography books, and we were not taught in class about who we were. And so for the rest of my childhood life, I had to, fight for my identity. And I'm mentioning this because of the whole dream of having a better life. When we come to the States, it's not just financial debt, it's also emotional debt and cultural debt.
I found myself trying to navigate through spaces where I didn't belong because this is not my natural home. And so then you come to the practice of culture, you come to the practice of your indigenous values, and it's hard to navigate all those different types of debt, just like there are different types of manuia. Every manuia has their challenges. So when we look at the prompt of this topic, is it worth it coming to the States? And of course it is. We left the safety of our harbor because our boat was not meant to just stay there. We were meant to explore because we are navigators by right. We're navigators in our DNA. That is what we do. But at the same time, as we practice our culture where we are, we have to also look at, not through Western lenses, but through cultural and indigenous lenses, what true success and blessings mean and look like. And so instead of looking at numbers, we look at the fruits of our labor. And if you're able to sit in front of your living room and to see your children and your grandchildren and see that they woke up this morning, then be grateful. And going back to environment, the reciprocity of taking care of the environment will take care of us. I remember my grandmother telling me, take care of your land and your resources, and our family will never go hungry. And that has been so even now. Now, to the practices that make us so broke. You know, in our culture, we like to go overboard sometimes, and this is my advice to a lot of us who are listening, whether you are Polynesian, Melanesian, Micronesian, wherever you are, those of us in the diaspora, we love to go overboard because we have so much pride in our culture. Au tato umalava e nonofo tutongi nonofo selengi. Whaingatama tongata niso ifuanga. But in the words of Pilolevu Tuita, if practicing your culture breaks your back and your bank account and puts your parents and family in debt, then you no longer respect culture. And so we have to look at the true essence of Samoa. Pinasauno mai naila. Ale lava de Fasoa, de lava. Uma. And so when we practice our culture and we practice our fa'alave'alaves and we practice the things that we're supposed to, that kind of makes us, put a hole in our pocket, let's ask ourselves, is it within our means? And if it's not, and it's okay to say, yeah, ele lava so fa'aso gaming, ai, alofa mai famamole se kuli se ai ma, kamfai, a lavas fa'aso advaso lea, awa te pole, o ki mankuaku oe. And so live within our means. Live within our means. There's nothing wrong with that. Our village just had a fundraiser for our Auva'a during Flag Day for our Fautasi race. In one day, our village raised $120,000. So, our family got money back home. And if you're here in the States, fa'amo moro ainga. Fa'amo moro ainga olo nofo ilalo lo lava fale. Take care of your family that's living within your own household first. And whatever is extra that we can take back home, they will manage. They will manage. They have land, they have everything there. The cost of living is different than here. The cost of living back home is different from here. I'm not saying don't give. I'm saying give what you can. It's like in an airport when the oxygen masks come, you got to put it on yourself first before you put it on the baby. And same thing in life, Fa'aseki leilo o langa, mawhai ona e sosoangi isi. Isi tangato tato ainga. Ai misi tato ainga o loo nofo tapua i Samoa. Ona tato lai nofo I whafo. Ia, o tato o loo tamawhai pea sosoani. Ai tau malele. That's what we call ourselves in the diaspora. Ai tau malele. That's the term that is used for us who are working here to help our families back in the motherland. But I know I'm going all over the place, maybe because of the new lighting and the new space that I came in. But no actuality, what I'm trying to say is work within your means. It is worth coming here if you decide to leave the harbor, but never forget your home. And that's the beauty about being Polynesia, Pacifica, is that no matter what, we still have a home to go back to. Uh, so that's my 2 cents of time on
No,
Avanoa.
don't feel like you're all over the place because I didn't see it that way. I think it's well covered. It's a broad range of important things that you covered. So nothing that you mentioned was said um out of the scope of what we're trying to capture here. So thank you again because it's important to us. We've always wanted to have someone that's on island to hear their opinion, and I know we try to bring Susanga on as well. So it's important for us to hear that perspective because the when we used to talk about these segments, what we normally hear from our folks online, and especially the ones back home, are you know you don't know what it's like. You guys have gone, you've left the islands long enough. You don't know what it is living here, but you have placed all that in perspective to tell the folks back home, yeah, I see it both ways, and this is what you guys also have to understand for those who are living off island. So I'm gonna go back to Kalania and Laoso, but Laoso, are there any comments there that we can throw in there?
Just a little. So I'm a numbers person. I'm not really good with words and stuff, so I can understand things with numbers and do budgeting and all that stuff for companies and firms. But so I raised my kids in America, and being that I'm very grateful that my parents and my in-laws understands that, having a big family, they don't ask us to participate in the Fatlavilabis. And so because of that, I was able to like we're able to take care of our kids, especially now that they're in college and there's a lot of financial obligations, and so that helps us out a lot. When they do need something, they'll ask us, but most likely they're the ones actually helping us all the time for our kids, and so we're very blessed in that aspect. As far as living paycheck after paycheck, being a mother, working a good job, sometimes your guard drops and you have to be a mother and support, go out of your means to help your kids. Because like for me, not all money is good money. I've already turned down working six-figure jobs. I've turned down partnership with county firms because my priority are my kids. And so, and the fact that I am able to do away with love and love is because both sides of the family um, wants to make sure that our kids are well taken care of first. That in itself is a blessing that we're able to do what we need to do within our means for our family. And so that's all I have for that part.
Okay. And before we go to Kalani, can you see if there were? I think we had a few comments there from our viewers. Okay, Honolulu girl, we always hear about the personal responsibility, how we should work harder, budget better, or eat healthier. But what rarely gets talked about are the systemic barriers we face every day, like lack of air conditioner, AC. Is there a continuation on that?
I'll read it out since I can't move it up.
Okay.
Okay, so we always hear about personal responsibility, how we should work harder, budget better, or eat healthier. But what rarely gets talked about are the systemic barriers we face every day, like lack of access to financial education, affordable housing, or healthcare. How do we start addressing the system, not just the symptoms?
Okay.
Can I
Yeah,
add to
sorry, I
that?
didn't see. I was assuming that it ended with AC as air conditioner, but it was access to financial education. Okay. So did everyone capture the question there?
Yeah. Um, also, I mean, those are very broad topics to really talk about. Like, it, access to ACs, I mean, that uses a lot of electricity. That probably in American Samoa, it gets very hot back home,
Oh,
very
sorry,
humid
Adele.
back
The
home.
question was access. I read it wrong. It was lack of
Oh,
access to financial education.
yep,
Financial
yep.
education. Oh, okay. But the thing is with with my background in education, there's not much of lesson plans that address financial education in American Samoa. It really depends on the teacher if they're incorporating that in their classes. I think I believe in high school they have business classes where or clubs where they're actually utilizing those financial um lessons. But yeah, that's a good point about financial exposure because we really don't even have the credit system back home. Like that's another shock when you leave American Samoa, you come to Hawaii. It's like everything is credit system. Like, do you have any credit? No, what is that? You have a credit card? No, what is that? It's like that's another thing. Like a lot of our kids, they're not really exposed to that in American Samoa because it's really not there. So it depends, but it also it also depends on American Samoans. Like, well, even Pacific Islanders, honestly, you have to be willing to reach out. You cannot expect these resources to come and find you. You also have to be doing your own work as well. Don't expect things to like, hey, to educate you. So whoever's, asking those questions, thank you for reaching out. But there's so much information out there where you can educate yourself. Like there's so much out there. Like I'm I'm only limited to what I already know and from my experiences with the credit system, but it changes. And so reaching out, just seeking for your understanding will actually help out. It's not like a take, you know, that's pretty much how it should be. You should just seek the answers, what's going to work out for you. Because, I mean, I think that in all aspects, because we're kind of going off topic, in the future, a lot of the jobs are going to be automated. At financial advisors, a lot of jobs that are so repetitive is going to be automated. So consider this if try to find something that you know will actually be there in the future, any kind of jobs, anything in technology, anything in computers that will still be there. That's what our kids should be aiming for. Because if it's something that's repetitive, guarantee it's going to be automated. So our kids, there is no, how to say, like roadmap for success. You have to find it yourself. Whatever we call success, it's dependent on wherever you want to go, whether you want a nice house, roadmap, which is really your own. Everything is different. So we have to push our kids to try to seek that because it's hard. Because I'm seeing a lot of kids who actually come from American Samoa here and who have grown up, they tend to move towards low paying jobs. But honestly, you could actually go for a higher paying job. It's possible. It's just don't, I don't know. I don't keep yourself to the lower paying jobs where everything is possible. It's just seek it. That's my input.
No, I like how you tackled that. You pretty much there's a lot we can do.
Uh,
Well, let me go back to Brother Kalani real quick.
Yo, sorry. I was actually enjoying listening to all our panels
Yeah, like
comments. Yeah,
I
but
try to reserve myself for towards the end, but I noticed we forgot
no, it's
about you.
okay.
So, but we can go
No,
back
it's
to
okay.
yeah. Go ahead.
Just a quick add on. I remember that when I was going to the high school, when I used to attend Whangaitua High School, my dad and my mom will always only give me 50 cents, 2 quarters, 1 quarter to the school. And if you lose the other quarter, guess what? You're walking home. So the other quarter, I have to make sure that I reserve it. It's either in my ear or I put it in a pocket, or I make sure that because that's my fare back home. Otherwise, that's going to be at least almost 2 hour walk from Whangaiktua to Tula, you know.
Mm,
So the mentality that I've developed from that, it does take a long way coming up here. And then the thing of it is that when it comes to paycheck, a lot of people will refer that to numbers, like what Sis Vasa was saying. But if we think of our resources back home, that is the wealth that we had. We didn't have money to grow crops. We didn't have money to get bananas. We didn't have money to get breadfruit and all that kind of stuff. So there are different ways of how you can interpret wealth. But my thing is that coming up here, of course, that you have to have a good paying job. And what Sis Adele was saying is very true. It's a personal preference. If you want to make it, you can with that goal. That is your personal preference and your personal goal. That if you want to get that stride going on, take it and go along with it. And then if you don't want to, but it's because that our Polynesian communities exemplify how culture values, regardless what's going on. Strong communities and whatever thing, so sending money home and all the falavilavis and everything that, of course, that we do think about. But everybody knows that it's finally for because we have bills here in America. But the wealth that I'm talking about is that we have the spiritual wealth. We also have the land, that wealth that we always work on. So I think that there are different ways in how people can interpret this subject. But like what people, one of the questions that how can we uh, tackle the symptoms, or I'm not really sure, but I can't remember. But my thing is that that should be an individual question for a personal preference, how you can tackle that, because it doesn't come as in a community. And the community, our values and our traditions will stay strong because how we were brought up, like the 2 quarters that I was talking about, 1 quarter to the fair to the school, and the other quarter back home. If I lose those quarters, well, that will be the struggle of my own because I didn't pay attention. So it's a simple analogy that I use, but the thing of it is, it goes long ways. When I teach my kids, I can only teach you the values of family. And I think that's the basic fundamental that every Polynesia has, is how you build that fundamental in the house. Because I think 65 to 70% of our kids' relationship is out of our house. I'm talking about school, games, everything. And every cultures and every aspects that they learn is from these gatherings. So yeah, uh, to go back to that, by any means, like what Sis Adele said, if you can think of a job that is never going to die, well, think of doctors. There's always going to be sick people. Airplanes are always going to fly because people have to go somewhere. I see a lot of Polynesian communities taking that job, and that does pay well. And if you want to go out there and serve your community, law enforcement is another thing as well. And there's a lot of type of jobs that I know that people, our community can think of. But I think that when it comes down to our topic again, I think that we do have the wealth, and knowing by that, because that what Brother Moni was testifying, that he is a product of a farmer, and that was the wealth. So, so not to go any more further, but that's my take upon it. Thank you.
okay. Brother Moni, did you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I think the question was, how do we tackle the system and not the symptoms? I didn't know if that was applied, if that was referring to back home or here in the States. So I'm going to address both real quick, if that's okay.
Yeah.
If we're going back home, uh, again, invest in industries and in fields that has to do with home, that has to do with agriculture, that has to do with marine life and fisheries. I mean, yeah, we can major in subjects that really isn't useful back home, but let's major in subjects and in trades that can really develop our territory back home. But if you're talking about here, I echo what the panelist has been saying. Like I said, we are navigators. We are hustlers. Back home, if you don't till the land, you don't eat. Here, by the sweat of our brow, we will eat bread for the rest of our lives. Afai etere afu etele manuia. And so, so many examples in my family that I am so grateful to look up to. I had an auntie who was baking bread and pies from the back of her car and in her kitchen, and she ended up doing that after so many years and finally having her own bakery. And so that's the type of example that I grew up with. That's the type of example that I got to learn from. So esa ili ili se luma na imanuia. What does that mean? It's not going to appear on the table in front of you. The beauty about coming to this country and leaving the safety of our harbor is that here you actually can work and see the fruits of your labor. Ole manuia moni lena e fua mai lo tingaina lo ngalue lo wafu. And again, that principle, if you don't sweat, back home, you do not eat. The same thing here. If we don't sweat here and work hard, we do not eat. In other words, we do not see success in the fruits of our works. And so, yes, there are entities that may work against us, but we are talented people. And I think these are the types of challenges that Pacifica people can overcome. We are navigators by profession. We are scientists at heart. Back home, we had Uncle Paulo from Amanave who had a third grade education, but he can take his hand and dip it into the soil and feel the moisture of the dirt and know that it was okay to plant this season or plant next season. That is indigenous knowledge. Same thing with us. We are scientists in our DNA. Why? Why are we not tackling the opportunities that we do not see, but they're out there? And so I really feel that as Pacifica people, we have the skills and talents to navigate through whatever spaces and challenges that come our way and use our Pacifica identity and values as leverage to succeed in this environment here in Ifafo. So that's my address. That's me addressing the question whether it was back home in Samoa or here in the States.
Thank you, Brother Moni. And trying to consolidate all the thoughts. I wrote several things down, but I think from hearing what you guys have said, to try to summarize, I think it comes back down to lifestyle. And I say lifestyle because everyone's comfort of living is different. And when I graduated from college, I got me a starter home, right? No one taught me how to get a mortgage, apply for loans, and all that good stuff. But I figured out, how much I could afford, rent, to pay my mortgage, but then don't be too, like the military said, hey, here's $499,000, go get you, a mansion. And most people will go and do that. But me being realistic, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can probably do that, but I won't eat, right? I won't be able to, have enough to share, to support the Falab Lavis. So you're calculating all what you can afford and comfortably live, month to month. But as you progress, as I was making more money, I got comfortable living in that small home. It didn't bother me living in a small home, but that was our starter home. We always believed that was, where we're going to start, but then go into something bigger. So my bank account continued to accumulate. So I'm having all this money, but then I have a small home. It didn't bother me. Like going back to what I said, lifestyle. But then when my daughter started to grow older, she notices things. She's looking around and saying, why do we live in this small home? It's not a bad home. Like, the bus stops at all these other stops, and why do, those kids live in those nice homes? And she asked me the question, are we poor? I'm like, no, we're not poor. Well, can we afford that home over there? Like, of course we can afford it. It was a reality check on myself. Why am I depriving myself of living in something, great? Can I afford it? Yeah. So that's when I decided, I'm going to sell this small home, get us a better home. But it was the value that I wanted to teach my daughter. Like, yeah, we can afford those things. What are we saving all this money for? Going back to lifestyle. So now we live in this big home. Same thing. Can we afford it? Yes. Do you have enough money to support all the, Falab Lavis? Yes. So just going back to that, and how did I learn all these things? I learned because of my parents' struggles. I listened to my mom and dad, what they didn't understand, and where did they fail at, and how do I educate myself in areas that they didn't understand. I mean, that's why it's important, you as a kid, you have to bridge the gap too. Don't just totally depend on someone like your parents to tell you how to do things. Sometimes, like I think it was mentioned earlier, self-discover, go and figure it out. Those are the hard knocks of life. As a child, go figure it out. And that's why we leave Samoa. The people that leave Samoa, like Moni said, you are on that journey to figure things out for the folks back home that can't do it. And I think that's why we're all here, is we're the journeyman. We figure it out, make that income, and then supplement the folks back home. So that's just kind of my share on the subject. And does anyone else want to contribute to the topic, or are there anything that you want me to pull from our viewers, Leaso?
Yeah.
Okay, Tamasamoa Bay Area. Success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who are hungry for the opportunity and go for it. Okay, thank you. Financial tools, housing, healthcare, these are pillars of the well-being. When they are broken for some, society as a whole suffers. Okay. No single actor can fix this alone, so we need multi-sector, cross-jurisdictional efforts. Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So we had several more topics, but we won't be able to reach them this evening. But it's getting close to 2 hours, and I just want to thank the panel for joining us tonight and covering the multiple topics, very critical topics to not just us in Samoa, but Pacific as a whole. So I'm gonna go through our full circle and give you your last words for the night, brother Moni.
Yeah, whaftai lava mo leni a wanoa sa o se talanoanga matangofi. Tele mata upu e whaataua i tātou e mese tātou tangata. O te whaftai foe i le tātou pano, e mese le sunga taitai, e Arlington. O te whaftai foe o weo lo o whaafonga mai. Maloto sapsapaia mai i mātou. Ia, o tanoanga nei o se tanoanga whaalangona, whaafianga. A whai e se vaenga o sasi ia. Whamalu ave I whare tō whinangalo. A wai poto tautai, e selanga tu yama. It is a pleasure to be in this panel. And I hope if anything was learned today is that we're not all a monolith. We all have our own opinions and our own perspectives, and that's what makes us beautiful, inside and out. But if anything, I hope that any Pacifica who's listening to this, that you know and you understand the power that you have within you. And you are all special, and you are all enough. Yeah, also tautalanga ni na, whaftai mo le awanoa, soifua mai manuia.
Thank you, brother Moni. Sis Adele.
Hi, thank you very much for the opportunity, the safe space, and providing an equity of voice to everyone. So I really appreciate hearing everyone's input. Thank you very much. And I look forward to hearing and listening to everyone, I guess, input in the next podcast, perhaps when my brother's on and I'm just a listener. But thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you, Lasso, putting me on the spot. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks, Sis Adele. Yeah. Uso Kalani.
I think Brother Moni already covered touch bases with all the stuff, and thank you for everybody and our viewers. I just wanted to add that all these subjects that we talk about and topics, hopefully that we did some good to it. And if there's anything that we have touched to where that it hurts the feeling, please forgive us. Eh, like what Brother Moni was saying. I think I said it right. I'm not sure. But another one too that I forgot to mention to where that a lot of people that in Samoa. Hopefully that our government can just go ahead and just look into all these topics, especially some of the stuff that we have touched base. So I think that's most of the stuff that our panel had touched. Thank you very
Mahdi.
much for being here as well.
Thank you, Brother Kalani. Yeah, Sis Naila.
Masalo la ale toi e sisi whakatai e toi whaasuria pe o na awatu le mamalu o le pano. So ia wa whai a moni ma whunga taulongolongo mamalu o mātou nei. But just wanted to say thank you to the panel for tonight and all the topics that we've talked about. Thank you to all our listeners that are tuning in from all around the world. We hope that some of these questions and what we have put forth in front here is a blessing for someone, meaning that, hopefully it's very educational for them to see our point of view and our ideas and how we look at things in all different aspects of how we feel. So otherwise, I just wanted to say good night to everybody and a blessed week ahead, since we're just now starting in the beginning of the week. Yeah, Maria.
Yeah, Sis Leasu.
Thank you to all our viewers for listening in, tuning into our panel. We really appreciate you all and those who are going to tune in later. Also, if you want to be a part of our panel, please reach out to our team. We'll be more than likely to invite you into our panel. We have so many wonderful panels that are also a part of our team who haven't been able to make it to tonight's segment, but we'll be able to be on for the next panel. We are live every 2 weeks on a Monday. And so what we do is we collaborate together and talk about topics that arises within our Pacific regions, and hope that what we discuss within our own experience, our own opinion, will be able to shed the light to what's going on in the world, especially with our Polynesian, Melanesian, Micronesian, who we also are trying to invite into our our um, our segment as well. And that also we really appreciate you all, and we also appreciate our panel members. It's not that easy having to prepare for this, especially the time zone that we have. It's late for most of us, and so we try to accommodate for those on the West Coast. And again, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate everyone and those tuning in, and see us again in the next 2 weeks. And also this live podcast coming up this Saturday, just an FYI. He is the former soccer player, coach. I don't know if you guys know that soccer movie that came out. Tika or whatever his name that did the filming. I forgot the name of that soccer movie in American Samoa. Well, he was a
hmm
big contribution to that soccer team, so he was a big part of that. So tune in. We can't wait to hear his story about his journey. He's from Panama City, down South America, and so he lived in American Samoa and learned the culture, and he has a lot to say about our people and the Polynesian community. So we're excited, and hopefully you guys will all be able to tune in this Saturday and next Saturday too, as well, for a very special guest.
Thank you, Leasu. I won't echo anymore because we have such a great panel here, and Moni has spoken on our behalf, which pretty much captures everything that we've stated. But what I usually like to do is do a good closure, but then also address sensitive topics that are you know that are out there, that are glaring, that's impacted the community. And one of the things that we wanted to bring to the forefront as we close is peaceful protest. And we say that to capture everything that we talk about today. Eventually, it'll lead to some type of protest. And even the discussions that we're having, it's sort of like the First Amendment right to speak your mind. So that being said, we know the issue that just happened recently we have the King's marches, all the protesting that's going on, but it's something that hit home to us. Losing one of our own, Arthur Alpha, and I know there's a lot of you that are mourning out there, and you are feeling that pain. And some of you I've seen online that want to avenge that, or take it took it personal. So this is our small tribute, but as a reminder, the importance of peaceful protest. So we highlight the importance of our First Amendment rights to peaceful protest, which guarantees the freedom of speech and the right to assemble peacefully. Arthur Afa'alu, you were a leader in your community and you stood along the supporters for something you believed in. In Samoa, we are reminded of the Mau movement. And I share the famous words of Thomas Sissa to any of you who are seeking to avenge Afa's passing. And his famous words were, "My blood has spilled for Samoa. I am proud to give it. Do not dream of avenging it, as it was spilled for peace." So that's just a reminder for those who are hurt that want to also seek, the wrong form of retaliation. That's not, what our leaders had stood for, and that's the advice we share with you tonight. Remember those words, take it to heart, and promote peace. So that's our word for tonight. I thank all our viewers for tuning in tonight, and we wish you all a good night. Mangwir po.
So ifua, manuia.
Night.